Hi everyone, I'm here to talk to you today about the extinction of the megafauna in North America. So, megafauna were animals of particularly large size, according to Merriam-Webster, that roamed the earth a long time ago. Um, they are really interesting to scientists because there was a huge extinction that happened kind of all at once, and the cause is still undetermined. So I'm here to talk to you today about a couple of the theories that they have. So, according to About Education, quote, at the end of the last ice age, at the same time as the human colonization of the last farthest flung regions from Africa, large bodied animals called megafauna became extinct all over the world. The mass extinctions were neither synchronous nor universal, and the reasons preferred for those extinctions include, but are not limited to, climate change and human intervention. End quote. So I'm going to talk about a couple of the theories. The first one is a relatively new theory, and it has to do with climate change. So archaeologists of the University of Missouri Columbia, Matthew Boulanger and R. Lee Lyman, looked at the East Coast, which had actually not been previously studied very well or very thoroughly. Quote, this is a region that has virtually been absent from discussions about megafaunal extinctions, Boulanger says, which have mostly focused on the Great Plains and the American Southwest. Yet it is also a region with incredibly rich record of prehistoric animal remains. For example, the bones of at least 140 mastodons and 18 mammoths have been found in New York State alone. Boulanger and Lyman compiled these databases of radiocarbon dates from both megafaunal finds and Paleo-Indian sites for the Northeast, throwing out any dates whose reliability had been or could be questioned. This gave a final sample of 57 megafaunal dates from 47 different sites and 25 Paleo-Indian dates from 22 different sites. When the two databases were compared, it became clear that actually most of the megafauna had already disappeared before humans came on the scene, suggesting that humans had little to do with their demise, end quote. So, they also found evidence that suggested that there were multiple times that the megafauna had started to disappear over a couple thousand years. Quote, this was 14,000 years ago before any humans were in the region, but the number of animals then recovered after about 500 years. The second and final population crash began about 12,700 years ago when Paleo-Indians had just arrived in the region, according to the archaeological record. Moreover, the team reports that in the February 1st issue of Quaternary Science Reviews, even though humans and megafauna continued to exist for about 1,000 years before the animals finally went extinct. The animals were already on their way out. Between 75% and 90% of the northeastern megafauna were gone before humans had ever come on the scene. Yet, even during the millennium of human and animal overlap, the team argues there is no evidence for hunting. Neither megafaunal nor Paleo-Indian sites in the Northeast contained animal bones that were butchered or otherwise modified, end quote. Unfortunately, since the evidence they found only accounts for the northeastern region of North America, the evidence isn't conclusive for the entirety of the country. So basically, though, they have found that this evidence has a strong evidence towards climate change. There has also been kind of a controversial idea to rewild animals because of this theory, such as the lions and elephants into North America. They say that benefits kind of include help to the natural ecosystem for the land, but others argue that it could end up hurting them instead of helping, as well as being a danger to other species. Again, this is very controversial and has a lot of discussion yet to happen. Quote, meanwhile, advocates of the overkill hypothesis remain unconvinced by the new study. The authors have engaged in an exercise in data analysis that neither proves nor disproves overkill, says Gary Haynes, and he's an archaeologist at the University of Nevada, Reno. Humans may have come into the Northeast earlier than radiocarbon databases indicates, but their remains may have not yet been found, says Todd Surovell, an archaeologist at the University of Wyoming in Laramie. He insists that the new study is entirely consistent with the view that humans dealt with the final blow to the great beasts of North America. Quote, the fundamental question is whether these animals would have suffered extinction if humans had not arrived. End quote. There is no concrete way of finding evidence, is basically what they've found. So the next main theory is overkill. So it's basically that within 1,000 years of humans arriving, the megafauna suddenly disappeared from the fossil record. It was, quote, first proposed by geoscientist Paul Martin for more than 40 years ago. It was inspired in part by advances in radiocarbon dating, which seems to indicate an overlap between the arrival of first humans in North America and the demise of the great mammals. But over the years, a number of archaeologists have challenged the idea on several grounds, end quote. For example, according to PBS.org, Gary Haynes begs to differ. I don't care what anybody else says, 14 kill sites of mammoths and mastodon in a very short time period is extraordinary. It's one thing to find a campsite with some animal bones in it, he says, quite another to find the actual spot where an ancient hunter felled and butchered an animal, where, say, a spear point turns up still sticking in a bone. It is very, very rare to find a kill site anywhere in the world, he says. An absence or other megafauna in kill sites doesn't mean they were hunted. There is no doubt Native Americans were eating deer and bear and elk, Haynes says, citing several different animals that pulled through, but you cannot find a single kill site of them across 10,000 years, end quote. Other scientists, such as Ross McAfee, doesn't know if he agrees. I just don't think it's plausible, especially if we're also talking about collapses for megafauna that didn't actually go extinct. Certain populations of surviving big beasts, including bison in North America and musk oxen in Asia, are known to have fallen precipitously at the end of the Ice Age. It gets a little bit beyond probability, in my view, that people could have been so active to hunt every animal of any body size in every context, in every possible environment over 3 continents, end quote. So his argument is pretty compelling as well. Another hypothesis that he actually has come up with is called overkill. Although this theory has very little evidence to support it, it is an idea, though, that disease wiped out these large animals. He thinks that maybe humans or their animals brought that disease, and they were the ones that killed off the megafauna. So this theory comes, again, from McAfee and Preston Marks after they realized how soon the megafauna disappeared after the arrival of humans. Unfortunately, though, through DNA testing, they haven't been able to detect, quote, clues to any pathogens in megafaunal bones, much less nail down a specific disease like rabies or rinderpest that could have jumped from one type of animal to another and wiped out all the big beasts. There's no evidence, and there's virtually no possibility of getting any evidence, Kennett says. Overkill doesn't even have the circumstantial evidence because we can't prove there was a hyperdisease, Haynes says, end quote. There's another hypothesis that has come up in the last 10 years called overkill, which is spearheaded by Kennett and 25 other scientists. They think that maybe there was a meteor or some kind of cosmic impact that maybe started all these fires and eventually led to the extinction of these megafauna. So, quote, Kennett et al. See markers of a major catastrophe. These markers lie in a thin layer at the base of a black mat of soil that archaeologists have identified at over 50 Clovis sites across America, end quote. That's from PBS. And they have found 15 species of fossils in this black mat, but not above or below this mat of black matter. So, quote, stone tool remains of the Clovis culture also end just beneath the mat, he says. Moreover, Kennett and the team he works with have identified charcoal, soot, microscopic diamonds, and other trace material at the base of the mat. These materials indicate, he says, that a comet, not an asteroid, different constitutions, exploded in the atmosphere or stuck the surface, likely in pieces. This triggered widespread wildfires and extinctions, changed ocean circulation, and coughed up sun-blocking ash and dust, all of which help unleash the younger Dryas. Tokens of this cosmic catalysm has shown the Greenland ice sheet as well, Kennett says, end quote. Scientists wonder, though, where are the remains of the crater then? Although Kennett says it's still early, noting that it, quote, took nearly a decade for scientists to discover the dinosaur-ending impact crater after evidence for a cosmic collision 65 million years ago first turned up in sedimentary layers around the world. Then again, there may be no crater, Kennett says. He cites Tunguska in 1908, an object that scholars believe was a meteor or comet, exploded high above the Tunguska River in Siberia, leveling trees over 800 square miles but leaving no crater. End quote. Skeptics are also unsure about this black mat theory. They say it could have been from human fires or other wildfires. So, those are the main theories that scientists have. These are their hypotheses that they have for this huge megafauna extinction. Again, there's the climate change theory, there's the overkill, there's the overill, and there's the overgrill. So I hope that helped you. I had a lot of fun researching this. Okay, thanks. Bye.